Hi there! Welcome to another one of our mix and match classes. This is designed for level 2s and level 3s. And we are going to focus today on some flexibility, some stretching, which we don't. I'm going to try to pick things that we don't always do. A lot of the exercises that we work on anyway do give us some flexibility, but just looking to give a little boost to predominantly our spinal movement and our hips to help us maybe make some gains in some of the areas that we're lacking. So you do not need to have the mini stability ball except for 2 exercises that I'm going to try to keep just at the end. One of them will be a nice way to end anyway. You could try to find a substitute, but if you don't have the mini ball, I think you just you get off a few minutes early. We're going to start up on our hands and knees, actually, because we're just going to, if you're not already warm, we're just going to bring a little bit of mobility into our spine and to our hips and shoulders. So we're going to start in our cat stretch, which is movement of our spine on nice still shoulders and nice still hips. So hands nicely under your shoulders and knees nicely under your hips to start with. Find your neutral spine and take a nice breath in. On your out breath, let's start with the head today. Let's go from head to tail. Tuck the chin back towards the throat. Let the back of the neck lengthen as you let the head roll forward. Feel the upper back climb up, then the area between the shoulder blades. Then follow with the lowest part of the spine and finally letting that pelvis tip. Take a beautiful breath in there. You can accentuate it by hovering the knees. And then release the knees, release the pelvis back to neutral, low spine, rib cage area, head and neck coming back to nice and flat. And we'll go a little beyond today. We'll let the face lift a little bit, the tailbone lift a little bit, and we're into a little bit of spinal extension. Back to your nice neutral, and we'll go through that again. A little tuck of the chin. We're doing this slow because our focus is on the flexibility, right? You're thinking of all your principles when you do this. Keeping your shoulders nice and wide and away from the ears. Add your hover of the knees if you wish. Release. Try to go a little deeper into this flexion. Try to feel like you scoop those low ribs back a little bit. You scoop the tummy back a little bit. And then release. One bone at the back at a time if you can. Nice smooth movement, and then go into a little bit of extension if that feels right. Try to think of lengthening when you go into the extension though, and not just sagging in the spine. Good, let's do one more. Back to neutral. Tuck the chin back towards the throat. Try to feel some length in the neck as you let the head roll forward, right? Not too many of us won't feel a little bit of a stretch there if we do it correctly. Round up and hover the knees. And release from the tailbone right back to a nice flat spine. From here, we're going to keep our neutral spine, and you'll have to adjust, I guess, based on how flexible you are in your shoulders and your hips. Because what we'd like to do is when you rock backward, so hips towards the heels, is we'd like you to get into a full bend at the hips and a stretch of the shoulders. So rock back just once. Maybe your sit bones hit your heels, that's great. If they don't, that's fine. You stop where they stop. And you wiggle your fingers out as you lower the chest. So you're going to rock right back into this position. And then on your out breath, you're just going to rock forward and however far you come to be over your hands, right? So we're going to do that. Rocking it back and coming forward. And as you warm up, you might find that, you can move the hands a little more ahead and still get those hips back as you warm up the length in the shoulders and the hips. All right, so rock back. Where do you feel the stretch? Is it the chest lowering to the mat? You feel it in the shoulders? That's where I feel it today, but I was paddling yesterday. We're spoiled here in Nova Scotia in the summer. Let's try to do 3 more like this because we're just getting a little bit of warmth in our body as well. Beautiful. Rock it back. Last one. Beautiful. Good. From here, we're going to warm up a little bit of gentle spinal rotation. We'll get into more later. Press the left hand sort of directly underneath the chest or wherever you can be comfortable over it. Hips are going to stay nice and level. Take the right hand and reach it up. Sort of like that draw back on your bow as if you're going to do one of our other exercises, but you're on all fours. And you go for that nice rotation through the rib cage as well as the head and neck. You've turned to look at that upright hand. Release it down. Let's do that side one more time. Right hand towards the sky, left hand on the mat. Breathe into wherever you feel it's tight and release it down. Right hand on the mat. Left hand reaches towards the sky. Rotate to follow the thumb with your eyes and think of length as we always do between the tailbone and the crown of the head. Let's do that again. Nice breath in. When you're there, try to release wherever you feel tight. That already feels great to me. And coming down. Here we're going to get into our ankles a little bit. So toes and ankles, our feet. So toes underneath, and this alone is a good stretch. What you can do is if you do find that you have some tightness in the toes, into flexion like this, extension, is just press a little more into the right, press a little more into the left, sort of like you're walking through, just to warm them up. And this is a nice thing to do. I don't do it before we move into a plank series or anything, but it's a really nice thing to do to warm up your feet. From there, let's move into a nice pyramid. Take a nice breath in, lift the sit bones towards the sky. And here, think of your pelvis being high right here and the length in the back of the legs, and then lower the heels, right? Sink the heels towards the mat and feel that length in the back body. And then let's just raise the heels and lower them a few times. Shirt here. Raise the heels so you get a little stretch of the toes. Sink the heels so you get that stretch in the calves. One more like this. And then sink the heels. And we're just going to try to bend the knees a little bit. So just try to bend, leave your heel down, but bend your right knee a little bit. And then straighten it back in and bend the left. And that's a little bit different in your ankles, eh? Then the nice straight knee. You might feel it as a shift of the stretch down the calf a little more. You might feel it in the ankle joint itself. You might feel it somewhere else. Into the right knee bend, into the left knee bend. Beautiful. And then even it out. Raise the heels. Pivot forward. And you can either come into a hover or a plank today. But we're just going to rock back and forth. So if you're able to do that full plank, you'll get a little more in the toes. But I want you to come and rock your heels back. So almost like you get a little stretch in the calves there. Think of length between your heels and the top of your head. And then rock forward and get a little stretch in those toes. Rock back. Get a little nice stretch in the calves. And then rock forward until you get a stretch in the toes. Right? You're thinking about all your great form in your plank, but your focus is your little stretch of your toes. Good. We're going to do one more. Rock it back. And rock it forward. Beautiful. Even it out. Lift the sit bones towards the sky again. Sink the heels. Beautiful. And then we're going to come forward with we'll do our left leg first. So ground the right leg to the mat. And then take the left leg and you're going to step it forward between the hands, just to where you can be comfortable. Okay? And you might need, if you're really a lot stiffer in the hips, you might even need little blocks or books or something to put the hands on to be comfortable here. And from here, we're going to lower the pelvis to the mat. And then we're going to lift and give that front leg a little bit of a stretch. So you're lowering and you're getting a stretch, you're getting length in this back hip flexor. You're getting a little bit of fold in the front hip. And then as you lift the pelvis and rock back, You're getting some length in that back leg, maybe a little stretch in the back calf. Good. Let's do one more. And hold this one with the pelvis down. Take the left hand to the inside of the left foot, and maybe that's where you stay, right? You've changed the stretch in this left side, or maybe you're able to open the knee out a little bit away from you, and maybe you can lower down onto your elbows. That's hard. You already have to be a little bit flexible to do that. As I do that, I end up rounding my back. So I don't get much more of a stretch in my hip as I lower to my elbows. It's just that if you are flexible in your hips, you might have to go down further. I'm going to stay up on my hands because I already have a great stretch going on in the hip, the forward hip. I've got a good stretch in the back one. And then we're just going to do a little rock side to side, little oscillation. Beautiful. Good. Center the knee, replace the left hand on the other side of the foot, and then step it back. Good. And from there, we're going to move once into our pyramid. Sink the heels, enjoy the stretch in the back of the legs, raise the heels, pivot back to that beautiful plank, and then step forward with the right leg up between the hands, and adjust as you need to. You want to feel good. And then we'll do the same thing as last time. Right now the pelvis is low. I'm going to lift the pelvis and rock back, and you can be on your fingertips. You can adjust your hands as you need to, because you're trying to feel like you still have a nice length in your spine as you do this. You don't want discomfort in the low back. You want this to be a nice hip stretch. I feel this a lot more on this side. Okay. Let's do one more lift and rock back with the pelvis. Come forward. Bring that right hand inside the right foot. And you might stay here, or if you're more flexible than I am, you can lower down onto the elbows. I'm going to stay here because I already feel a really nice stretch in this hip and a really nice stretch again in that hip flexor in the back leg. The knee can move out to the side a little bit if that's comfortable, and you can even do your little rock side to side. That's good. Perfect. And then bring that arm back around, center the knee. Get a good grounding through the hands, and move that leg back into that plank once again. And just hold for a breath. Appreciate the freedom in the toes now. Lift the hips, sink the heels. Beautiful. You're all warmed up now, right? Good, because we're going to come back to our plank, because for the side body, the one I really like, although it's in our other videos, is to come into the side plank and do the side bend. So rotate to be into your nice side plank. Take a breath there to prepare. If you want to do the modified version, you can always drop the knee, level twos, or be up in your full side plank. Nice breath in, and reach that arm overhead. Let the head drop, and you're thinking about picking up the ribs, the waist on this upper side. Really pressing into the feet, pressing into the arm that's on the mat. Come back. And we'll just do it again. We do this in other videos, but it just feels good to get some length in the side body in our flexibility video, right? Hold it here. Go back to your plank. Nice breath in. And then rotate to the other side. Getting into the side plank position at first. Then lifting, 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 lifting. Dropping the head gently. Pressing into the feet, pressing into that arm. Return. Don't forget, you can put that bottom knee on the mat if you need, just for a little support so that you can focus on the flexibility side of it, as opposed to, if you're struggling with that shoulder strength or anything. Rotate back to your nice plank. And we're going to do one more. I don't have a modification for this level twos. So if you want to try it, yes. If you have some shoulder issues, maybe omit it, just do the side bend again. Take a nice breath in. You're going to lift the hips, reach that free hand back towards the feet. And this is a whole different lovely flexibility in the hip and in the spine and in that shoulder. Come back to your lovely side plank. We're just doing 2 reps. Take that free hand, reach it, reach it, reach it back towards the foot. Perfect. Back to your beautiful side plank. Back to your tall plank. We're almost done. We have to do that on the other side. So, side plank position. You can still do the side bend. Just repeat that if you want, or reach that free arm back towards the feet. Back to your side plank. Back towards the feet. Yay. I feel that right down into my outer ankle on that side. That's great. And then back to your nice tall plank. Good. This time you're going to lift the hips, sink the heels just for a minute, and hopefully feel that that's a lot more free. Maybe the heels weren't on the mat at first, maybe they are now, or maybe they're never on the mat, but they're closer. Walk the feet forward now, up towards the hands. You can soften the knees if you need to. Do what you need to be comfortable there. And then I just want you to hang. So I just want you to imagine length in your spine, but hang easy. And then I just want you to soften the right knee, and then the left. And we're just going to do 2 more on each side, but this is a subtle stretch for the hips usually, and one that we don't always do or get access to, I guess, in our everyday movements. Good. Even out the weight. And I'd like you, if you need to go wider with the feet, you can, because narrow is going to be harder. You're going to have more ankle flexibility, knee flexibility, and hip flexibility if you have narrow feet. If you have wider feet, you have a little more forgiveness to come down, because we're just going to do squats like that. So pick a width for your feet that you're comfortable, and I want you to think, instead of the hanging position that we were just in, you're gonna put your fingertips on the mat in front of you, or on a block, but I want you to try to flatten out the spine a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat, but you're just thinking about that length between the pelvis, the top of your head. You're now facing the floor with your chest and face instead of facing back. And then I just want you to bend the knees as if you're going to sit your bum down to touch your heels behind you. Good. If you need to hang on to something maybe at first, do that, and then come back up. Lengthen, look ahead, or look down in front and ahead, and then bend again. Bring those hips down towards the heels. Then lengthen back up. Squat again. This one's hard, but it's very nice if you can work on it. It's nice for so many things. It's nice for the ankles, it's nice for the knees, it's nice for the hips because they're in a full bend position. It's also really nice for the pelvic floor. If you have a tight pelvic floor, this is an open, basically an opener for the hips and pelvic floor, right? Let's do one more, just like that. It's also good practice for what we're going to do next, which is to lower the bum and try to sit right down without using your hands. Right? Are you liking this flexibility video so far, right? So, and there are conditions where, like if you have an old torn meniscus, maybe that knee bend is not going to be possible for you ever. You can always do the child's pose shell stretch or something in place of that one. Come to sit though, with your feet at that forward edge of the mat. And this already is a bit of a hip exercise for us because we're bent there. But we're going to use it as a spinal mobility exercise. So take a nice breath in. And on your out breath, I want you to nod your chin. And just do a beautiful roll down forward. So maybe you're thinking about touching your cheekbones to your knees. Maybe you can. Restack. Nice breath in. Out breath. Tuck the chin. And to feel length as you round forward. Round, 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 round. The sit bones are your foundation. They don't move. Restack. If you are actually able to put your, your face on your knees, then you could start to straighten out the legs and do the round forward there. Tucking the chin, rounding, 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 rounding. And you're thinking always about length. It's never this. It's always long as you try to round. Restacking. Beautiful. And this is our last one. Rounding. Round, 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 round. Good. And restack. Good. We do the rotation in some of our other videos, but just let's do two repetitions to each side, either in a diamond shape with the hips or coming into those wide legs, but nice straight to try to get a little bit of hamstring flexibility. Good. With the rotation, we're going to rotate. Actually, put the hands behind the head. We're going to do our rotation. We're going to remove the hands. Even weight on both sit bones here, right? You're going to lengthen the spine. You're going to help yourself rotate further. And then you're going to release the arms. Don't lose any of it as you put the hands behind the head. And then we're going to still squeeze more out of it. So it's not enough to just be here. Now you have to rotate more. And release. Isn't that good? And then the other way. Rotate to the left. Good. And place the hands on the mat. Lift. Rotate more. Beautiful. Release the arms. And squeeze a little more out of it. Back to the center. Good. How are you feeling? Long in your hamstrings, long in your spine. And rotation to the right. Our last one here. Release the arms. Get taller. Make sure the weight of the head is over the spine, which is over the pelvis. Add your rotation. Try to not lose any as you bring the hands back behind the head. Press the head back into the hands. Keep that alignment and squeeze a little more out of it. Back to the front and to the left. Last time. Get that rotation, then use the hands to lengthen and get a little more. And then don't lose any as you release. Put the arms back behind the head. Press the head back into the hands. Keep your alignment. And back to the front. Good. Close up. And just give a little shake of the legs for a second, because we're going to put it all together in our saw in a minute. But first, we're going to come down onto our back on the mat. Good. And we're just going to work on giving ourselves, we're going to move right into a little bit of a scissor. And we're just going to work on giving ourselves an active stretch as we do that. So find your neutral pelvis here. It doesn't matter if you're in sort of a lazy tabletop position. And then keep that. And either interlace, let's interlace the hands behind the left leg. And I want you to straighten out the right leg. And I want you to lower it down to the mat. And I want you to still be in that neutral pelvis. So the pelvis not only hasn't tipped back or forward, but it also hasn't rotated. Sometimes the rotation is what we miss there. So nice neutral pelvis, right leg nice and straight. With the left leg, you're going to just hold the hands behind the thigh so that you don't move that thigh at all. And I just want you to exhale, maintain that neutral pelvis, and straighten the leg towards the ceiling. And then release. And again. And if this is tight for you, right, this is a really great way to stretch the hamstring. There's so many other ways, but this is a nice way because you're using the quadricep muscle in the front to oppose the tension that's in the back of the leg, the hamstrings. And so it's an active stretch. You're gaining strength while you lengthen, so that when you get the new flexibility, you're strong in that range. You're not leaving yourself sort of vulnerable. However, if this is good and you feel like, we got maybe a little stretch, not much going on there, then you can go and do the full scissor, which we're going to do. Otherwise, just keep working on this, a nice release, a stabilization on the exhale, and that length of the leg when you're straightening the knee. Let's switch sides. So bring the right knee back up. You're going to hold behind that thigh now and straighten out the left leg. You support that thigh, it doesn't move. On your exhale, that pelvis is in nice neutral. Oh, see, I had to adjust mine. And lengthen. Release down, exhale, and lengthen. Okay? And so you might find that you don't get the knee all the way straight. If you're working on it here and you feel a lot of pull behind the thigh, then that's great. You stay there. If you do a lot of long distance running, you're going to be tight in the hamstrings. You don't necessarily need to have, full, long length, ballerina style hamstrings. It's not functional for what you do, but you still don't want them to be super short. So you're working in your limits. Let's do one more. And like I said, if this is a hard stretch for you, I want you to just go back to the other side and just keep alternating. Otherwise, we're going to go into the scissors. So both legs back up to tabletop for a minute. Nice breath in. On your out breath, pelvis is nice and still. Straighten out both legs, right? So you're already working here. You've got your tailbone down on the mat. You've got your spine in neutral. Good. And you can choose to lay back with the upper body and just hold the leg that's going to be close to you. Or on your out breath, curl up, since this is level 2-3, and hold yourself in this lifted chest position. Bring the left leg a little closer to you, and then you're going to actively hug it in even further while you straighten the right leg. And you're going to hold it there, release it slightly, bring it in a little bit more, and then a nice control while you switch. Hug, release, hug, release, hug, release. Pelvis stays nice and still while you switch. And switch. And switch. So if you're laying back, it's the same thing. It looks like this. You're just focused on that pelvis neutral, right? And if you can't get the legs straight and keep the pelvis neutral, then you're doing part 1 that we did again. Switch. Let's do one more with the left. In, and switch. In, and bring them both up. Give a little bend if you need. Relax in the upper body. And then my ultimate nice hip flexibility that I like to do is the helicopter. So you can always do the helicopter with bent knees. The idea is that the legs are going, sort of circling in in opposite directions, so that you have this motion going on. One is lowering, one's coming up. They circle out to the side. With bent knees, I almost find it harder to coordinate. So, but if you need to bend the knees, you can, because you're working on that hip mobility. But with the straight legs, you're getting more of the flexibility that we want. Flexibility of the inner thighs. A lot of muscles cross the hip and the knee. So with the straight knee, you get a little more of that stretch effect. So pelvis is in nice neutral. Hands just at your sides for this one. On your exhale, straighten both legs if you can. And then you're in that scissor position that we just worked on. So bring one leg down and bring the other leg nice and close, nice and close, nice and close. You could even help it a little bit like you just did. And from there, I want your circle big. So the right leg circles out, left leg circles, and at some point you're in this big V position. So you're getting that inner thigh work, that inner thigh stretch. You keep coming though, so that you are now in the opposite scissor. We're gonna keep going the same way though, so pass the legs in the center, right? This leg's close and circle. Pause in your V, just to know you have control. Come back into your scissor and switch, and we'll do one more this way. So circle, pause in your nice big V, keep circling in the same direction, good, and stay there. Draw this leg in a little bit if you can, just for that stretch, and then you're gonna circle back. So that right leg goes out to the side, left leg goes out, you're in your V. Keep going around, good, and switch in the middle. Circle, pause in your V. Circle, switch. Reach long through those legs. You still need to have the stabilization in the back and core. Bring that leg in, bend both knees, and just give a little hug in. Good. Since we're here and we've already warmed up our spine and you guys love this exercise, we're going to roll like a ball. So draw the heels in towards the bum. This is full knee bend. This is sort of full hip bend. Point the toes. Take your breath in. Nod the chin. And curl up. Right? And then start your little rock. Right? And you're trying to imagine that you don't have any flat spots in the back. Keep it rocking until you can start to come to find that balance. Inhale to roll back and exhale to come up. Inhale to roll back, exhale to come up. We just warmed up the hamstrings a lot. So if you'd like to take the hands to the ankles or the shins and straighten in your balance, release down, roll it back. Come up, in, roll back. All right, more of a level 3 is to stay in that. It's called your open leg rocker position while you roll back, while you come up, and find your balance there. Whichever one you'd like to do. Hopefully you're not picking none at all. Let's do 2 more. So come up, find your balance. Roll back. Come up, find your balance. Good. From here, I want you to bring the legs together and apart. Together and apart. If you're not in this open leg rocker, you're sitting in your rolling like a ball. Apart and in. Apart and in. Apart and in. For 1 more. Perfect. Bend the knees. Good. Straighten the legs out again. And before we go into the saw, we're going to go into just a nice straight, like an L shape. Nice straight legs. I want you to pull the feet back. So the tops of the feet, really, really nice flexion at the ankles. You're over your sit bones. If you need a little bit of bend in the knees because you can't get this nice straight spine position without it, then you can soften the knees a little bit, but try for that flexibility. Take the arms, reach them overhead. Here you're going to go for your shoulder flexibility. Nice breath in. On your out breath, you're going to take those thumbs, keeping the elbows straight, and press them back behind you. But you're not letting the head poke forward. You're not losing the alignment in the back, right? You're feeling the tummy button pull forward, the breastbone pull forward. You're long in the back of the hamstrings. You're really, really tall in the spine. And you're using the back body, the strength behind the shoulder blades, between the shoulder blades, under the shoulder blades, to press those upper arms back while you keep the alignment in the rest of the body. If the elbows soften a little bit, that's okay. As long as you're feeling it as a good length and extension in the shoulders, then you're working where you need to be, right? And let's do 3, 2, 1. And lower the arms to your sides. Try to keep them back, back, back. So you open across the chest. Beautiful. Close it up. Do a little roll forward just to release the back if you need to. Restack. And we're going to open the legs for the saw. Again, just 2 repetitions because we do this one in a lot of our videos. But it combines. It should be a really nice stretch in the side body as you do the saw. So you've got your knees just gently bent if you need to, because the important part is that you really start with a nice straight spine. So if you have to, you've got the knees just soft enough. You know, don't massively bend them if you don't need to, or great if you can go into this nice straight leg position. Arms are just out to your sides. Take a nice breath in, rotate, but get taller as you do. Rotate to your right. In this position, I want you to reach the right hand back more, the left hand forward more. So you're going for already a little more mobility in your chest, through the shoulders. Then you nod your chin and you roll down. So you nod your chin, you roll forward, but on an angle, like you're going to saw off that baby toe, and you have even weight on the sit bones here. Back arm continues to reach back. That's some shoulder flexibility. Restack. Come up through the center, get taller as you do the same thing to the left. To the left, to the left, to the left. Reach the back hand back more, the forward hand to the front more. Get more rotation. Then nod the chin, roll it down. Right? Restack. Good. Unwind. And once more at each side. So rotation, then stretch more, stretch more, stretch more. Nod the chin, roll it down. Peel it back up and unwind. I think the reason that we don't like this exercise is not so much that we lack the strength to do it, it's that we really lack the flexibility sometimes to do it. And frankly, flexibility is not that fun to work on, I don't think. But it comes. It's important. Close up the legs. Beautiful. We're going to come down onto our bellies for a moment. Yes, we're going to come down onto our bellies. Sorry. And from here, we're going to do an exercise that we usually do, but maybe don't notice the benefit of it. And in this position, you find your pelvis neutral. Nice breath in. Peel up with the upper body to be on the elbows, right? The feet are together. Squeeze the feet together. Squeeze the upper thighs together. Really narrow in the lower body. Pull the breastbone forward a little bit more. And you could be a little bit elevated here if your spine permits that. You could be right up on the elbows, but with the elbows wide out to the side. Or if you're more flexible in your spine, you might have the elbows underneath you, more in like a yoga sphinx position, right? But only if that's comfortable in your low back, right? So if you're up in this nice sphinx position, you're strong in the shoulders. You still have the pubic bone on the mat, but you're lifted in the hip pointers, you're drawn in the belly, and this gets you more stretch through the front body. So you can choose that especially if you're used to doing yoga as well and you're comfortable in this position, or lower a little bit beyond the elbows, whatever you can control. This is our little pulse. So we bend the knee, right? And I want you to feel almost a pull in the front of the thigh, right? Or in the hip in the front, or in the belly in the front, right? If you don't feel anything, maybe you can stand to be in a more difficult upper body position. So nice breath in to prepare, bend the right knee. Oh. And then release a little bit, flex the foot, release, and straighten it out. So 3 little pulses. If it's too much to do the footwork, then you don't have to, but it's a point, a flex, a point, and a release. And we'll do it slow like that today because we're gaining flexibility. Point, flex, point, release, point, flex, point, release. And this should be a little bit hard for you just to maintain in the upper body. If you pick too easy of a position, try to get a little more extension in the back, to work a little harder around the shoulders. And this is a great one for tight quadriceps, tight hip flexors, tight front of the body, right? Which so many of us are, and yet we do all these other stretches at the gym. Not to criticize them, but this is a really effective one. A lot of bang for your buck. Nice breath in and peel it down. Good. The next one we're going to do is a shoulder flexibility one. And a lot of people are surprised that they can't get into this position. And it's good for our neck as well. So our start position is with the head rotated to one side. So rotate the head to the right and set it down on the mat. Take the hands and put them at the small of your back. And then you're aiming to see if you can put your elbows down on the mat as well. Right? And if we're tight in the shoulders, that sort of doesn't happen, right? So see what you can do. Hands, back of the hands at the small of your back. Try to get those elbows down as close to the floor as you can. The head is rotated to the side. The feet stay together. We're going to bend the knees again. Don't let the pelvis move. So this is just a stretch with a bit of rotation in the head now. Release the legs. Good. And then from here, you're going to center the head. You're going to lift in the chest. Lift, 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 lift. And you're going to take the hands, you're going to interlace the fingers and reach them back so that you get that opening across the front of the chest, and you're trying to lift them a little bit, right? You should definitely feel that in the shoulders and the front of the chest. And then Bring them in, put them at the small of your back again. You don't have to keep the fingers interlaced. Rotate to the head to the other side as you lower it, and let the elbows fall. Bend the knees. Straighten them out. And then lift the face. Rotate it down towards the mat, so you're neutral. And then lift in the breastbone, but interlace the fingers. And reach, 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 reach. Draw in with the belly, so you're supported in the low back, but you get this stretch in the upper chest and shoulders. Speed it up if you're comfortable. So rotate to the right, bend the knees, straighten them, extend. When you extend, level 3s if you wish, you can float both legs and separate them a little bit. So that's your full, nice extended exercise, eh? Close the legs, bring the hands behind the back, rotate the head to the other side, get the elbows on the mat. Bend the knees, straighten them, get your extension, reach the hands back, separate the legs if you wish with a hover. Bring them back together. Head to the right. We'll do one more each side. Bend the knees, straighten them out. Get your extension, interlace the fingers, draw in with the belly support, hover the legs if you wish, separate them. Bring them together, lower them, and head to the left. Elbows on the mat, hands at the small of the back, bend the knees, straighten them out, and reach into some extension. Float the legs if you wish. Bring them down and lower the face. Nice breath in, press up, back into your little shell stretch. Take your time to get there where you have been in extension. And roll it up. Good. Perfect. And this one we are going to need the mini ball for, so if you don't have it, you're off the hook. Even before we do this though, there's some people that already have a lot of extension. They have a very flat spine, they have a lot of extension in their mid-back, and this one isn't one that their body appreciates. They end up like feeling it in their ribs, or it's just not comfortable, or they feel it in their neck. That's fine. This is one that is great if your mid-back ends up, or your upper back even, ends up being in this position, this rounded kyphotic position, then the ball behind there and our bit of extension that we're going to do feels wonderful. But if your body does not like this, you might not actually need this. Not everybody does. So those of you who do, though, will love it. So here you're coming back to put the ball somewhere where it's relatively comfortable, like between the shoulder blades-ish. It could be a little low, near the tips of the shoulder blades, a little bit higher. Also depending on how big the ball is blown up. Immediately, though, you want to support the head and the neck. So just let the head be heavy, easy in the arms. The elbows are nice and wide. Take a nice breath in. The pelvis is in neutral here, so your low back isn't flat and like scooped. You're still in like a neutral spine. And you maintain that spine as you breathe in, and you really want to feel that you melt over the ball, right? So that it's not the head that goes back, but that you lower. You almost keep your chin a little tucked as you lower, and just feel one bone at the back at a time melt over that ball. And at the peak, your head might rest on the mat. You can press the elbows a little wider. Take a nice breath in. And on your exhale, you're going to come out of it. You're going to tuck the chin. You're really going to support the head with the hands as you curl up, so you get some nice ab work too. Release it down, melt over the ball. Adjust the ball if you need to. And curl it up. Release. Melt over the ball. And curl it up. Good. This one you can stay. If this is a great stretch for you and you're loving it, then you can stay. You might be able to set the head down on the floor behind you. You can straighten out both legs, and then you can open the arms, either right overhead or more in a big V out to the side, or you might want it to be in like the cactus position, just wherever you feel that really opening across the chest. It's a really, really lovely position. If you're tight, right? And a lot of us are. So, but if this doesn't feel good to you, then even just laying flat on your back in this, arms sort of overhead or wide V position can feel really lovely. Nice breath in. And after we've enjoyed the stretch, you can stay here longer if you want. It's our last thing. But the only graceful way to get off the ball is to do the roll up. And you should be all ready and warmed up for that in your spine, in your hamstrings now. So arms come to shoulder width apart. Before you try to roll up, I want you to feel like you drag the ribs down. So the ribs they start to pull down towards the hips. You lift the head, you lift the arms, and you should be really ready to come easily off that ball. Reach long over the toes. Doesn't that feel good? And don't you have more length there? Look how you're reaching past your toes, I can tell. And then restack. And there we go. I went over time, so hopefully that you're not too stretched out. I really enjoyed that, actually. That went smoothly. So hopefully you have a little bit of new ideas of where you might be tight and where you might need to work on. And repeat it if you liked it. Thanks. I'll see you next time.